Hello, a Band of Gamers podcast, episode 194. We're gamers who love music. We're three aging best mates, like a fine wine, talking about and trying to keep up with video games and helping you and each other discover some new music. All in the same podcast, our two favorite pastimes in separate segments. We got Side A video games and Side B music. Show notes, links, and conversation on our website at bandofgamers.com/194. I'm Joel, your MC, one of your three co-hosts, recording in Brookfield, Wisconsin, USA. Joining me on this podcast journey from across the globe. First off, in beautiful Vancouver, Canada, it's old Lockjaw himself, Shane. Hey, Shane.
Hi, all. Yes. Yeah, I got a little lockjaw this morning. I had an eventful day yesterday and spent the evening enjoying a few new beverages that I got my hands on, and I think I had maybe one too many. So I'm the type I've been known to grind my teeth at night when I sleep, especially when I've had a few beers. So jaw's a little tender this morning.
Oof.
A little lockjaw action. So it should be a good show.
And in Birmingham, England, ache-free for the first time in days, it's Karl.
Hello. Yeah. Download has been and gone. And I've, used to walking 15-ish miles a day in Wellington boots for 4 days. So, yeah, I ached all over and I'm just about recovered, ready for ABOG.
Ooh. Well done.
It's a lot of walking.
So, Joel, why don't you tell them what we're doing here today?
Thank you, Shane. We've got our usual format, Side A video games, news and conversation, work-life balance for video game developers, backwards compatibility coming to an end for now, what we're playing, got a few games in there, and besides that, we've also got the Pound HD cable for PS2, the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo, we've got our E-Penis segment, that's easy PlayStation Platinum trophies if you're new to the show. We'll share what's in our pint glasses in between these segments, and Side B music, recommended record this episode for fans of alternative country, and I'd say for everyone. I'm putting myself out there. This is a record of a decade. It's a high up on my list record, so I encourage everyone to listen to that, chat, and check it out.
Definitely. An album where there's definitely something for everyone on it.
We've got what we're listening to, including Karl's thoughts from his 15 miles a day at download. In news, let's get her started here. Animal Crossing, Nintendo E3 talk. I have listened to a lot of gaming podcasts. I read a lot of gaming websites, like I'm sure a lot of you do. And I am burnt out on E3. So let's skip right past the rest of E3. Just one highlight here, though. Animal Crossing was announced coming in March of 2020. It was supposed to come this year, so that's a little bit of a delay. But I really liked what Doug Bowser, God, that guy's name, he said here in a quote. It's the new president of Nintendo of America. The crunch point is an interesting one. For us, one of our key tenets is that we bring smiles to people's faces, and we talk about that all the time. It's our vision, or our mission, I should say. For us, that applies to our own employees. We need to make sure that our employees have a good work-life balance. One of those examples is, and we will not bring a game to market before it's ready. It's really important that we have that balance in our world, and it's actually something we're very proud of. And now just later here, more recently, there's some other news about developers and gaming development and work-life balance. This comes from Bungie, as they postponed Destiny 2 fixes, so the team can take a much-needed breather after just crunching through another content cycle recently. The creative director at Bungie, Luke Smith, ex-video game podcaster himself, a legend, I would say, he said to ask a team to do that back-to-back, full disclosure, it's not a thing we want to do. We try to be really careful about stuff like that. And I, for one, are quite pleased to hear some of this gaming life, work-life balance articles in the news, because usually it's the opposite, right? Usually it's you hear about gaming developers and those employees just getting grinded up, complaining, suing, lack of sleep.
Yeah, but it's at the same token. I mean, this is their dream. You need a break from your lifelong dream to be making. I also saw who's that guy that did that game that came out and No Man's Sky, and he set up a GoFundMe for people to donate money to, so he could buy his team gifts.
Really?
I don't know.
I didn't see that. And honestly, dude, this is a job, right? I mean, yeah, it's a dream, but it's a job. So, and from what I'm hearing, a lot there's much more talk about developers trying to form unions now, and some of that conversation from those folks looking to set those up, they're saying things like the publisher, the owner of these companies are trying to use that. It's your dream. You're in such a great field, so we'll pay you squat and we'll make you work long hours. End of the day, these people got families, they've got lives, hopefully, outside of just their jobs. So that's a load of shit, really, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Joel. I think the problem that they have is a lot of them aren't unionized, so they do need to go along there and start to make that happen. And if you're working in a culture where it's all crunch culture, like you're working 60, 70-hour weeks just to get a product out for a release date, then it's nice to see this from Bungie, and they're saying, well, actually, we'll let them have a break. You might wait a little bit longer for the game that you want or the DLC, but it's the right thing to do for the staff. And some of these guys work in places that are expensive to live in as well. Rent ain't cheap, bills ain't cheap, and they end up on a minimum wage doing. Yeah, it's a dream job. It's something I love to do, but you got to pay the bills, and you don't want to work yourself to death for it. So good to see this stuff being bought up.
It hits a little close to home for me too, having had a heart attack from work stress. I think it's a little ridiculous, the amount of work some of us put into our careers and time and energy, and then to get taken advantage. That's my situation. Got taken advantage from a demonstrative CEO. She was my boss. I got promoted. My trajectory was upward. It was great. I was working towards whatever. The sky was the limit. And I got a boss that just took massive advantage of me, threw me under the bus, blamed me for all of her inadequacies. She cut my pay, took my title away, like she had done to 4 or 5 people before me. So definitely a pattern. And a couple of months later, I had a massive heart attack. So work-life balance is very personal to me and important. Taught me a valuable lesson. Now I really don't care about my career as much as I used to. It's just there to pay the bills. I'm not as focused on it. I'm more focused on spending time with my wife and my friends and doing things like this.
You're only ever a cog in the machine. You're just a number at the end of the day. If you work for someone else, pretty much that's all it is. So work for yourself.
In other news, last wave of Xbox backwards compatible games was announced as the company shifts their focus to Project Scarlett. I first heard this news and I was a little bit irritated. I'm like, what do you mean you're stopping? You got to keep going until you get every single one of those games backwards compatible. That's the goal, I was hoping. But then after I heard some more information about why they're doing this, it made more sense. And that is when they release Project Scarlett, whatever that console is going to be called, they want all of the games that are currently working on the Xbox One, that's including, obviously, Xbox One will be completely compatible, but the titles that have like the software emulation or whatever to get them working, at 360 and original Xbox, the OG Xbox games, they want all of those to work as well. So they're focusing their attention on making sure that every current game working on Xbox One, from the OG through the 360 to the current SKU, Xbox One, One X, One S, all of those they want working on Project Scarlett. And then fingers crossed, they didn't say this, but hopefully they'll go back and start making more of those games compatible, like AMP 3. That's the one I'm waiting on. Look at the disc on the shelf. Like, come on, man, I want to play some AMP 3. Bring that one back. But for now, no more backwards compatibility on the One, the Xbox One.
Well, we've got enough choice, I suppose. But it would have been nice if they could have done it all. But like you say, console cycle is coming to an end. It makes sense to be focusing on the new shiny.
Yep, good timing. Wrap it up. Get everybody psyched for the Scarlet and how everything will work with the cloud and whatnot. So yeah, good. There's probably a few titles in there that a lot of people are waiting for, like yourself, Joel.
Yeah, and they released a bunch more 2 weeks ago before they closed her down. Gave like 20, 30 more. Here you go. Then they shut her down. Nice thing is that a lot of that backwards compatible stuff, like the 360 games, they have a little bit of a upgrade in their visuals, which is nice.
Yeah, nice touch to the service.
That's it for news. Lots of E3 stuff, but like I said, it's getting old. I don't want to talk about that anymore. You've all heard about all that. Plus, last episode, we kind of went in depth on Google Stadia and Xbox One, Microsoft's presser. So if you want more, go back. If you haven't heard that, check that out. What we've been playing. For me, lots of Far Cry 5. I wanted a shooter that I could just dive into and shoot some dudes. And it's fitting the bill pretty well. Like the background, like the scenery. Got some good guns in there. Lots of kind of open world style booking around, flying a plane, jumping in trucks, running over dudes. Pretty fun game. I'm maybe like 25% of the way through it. I started over. Had been such a gap between the last time I played it. Like, I'll just start afresh. Besides that, a little bit of Forza Horizon 4. I did not download that Lego DLC, although I scoped it in a trailer. When you fire up that game for the first time in a while, it's like, oh, did you know that there's the Lego? And then they give you like a little trailer. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I like stop that trailer. And then another trailer comes up. Like, oh, and did you know that? I'm like, wait, there's two things at DLC in here? Don't have any of that. But just booking around. And a little kind of sad. I looked at the hours I've put into Forza Horizon 5, and prior to this weekend, it's like 5 hours. I really need to play more of this game. It's a great game. I just haven't put as much time into it. So I'm picking her up here and there. And then I bought another Xbox One.
Whoa.
Yeah, check this out.
What?
I'm trying to play more games, especially it's summertime right now. Just
Clearly.
yeah, I got to find the time. So what I did is I put an Xbox One under the upstairs TV. So every workday in the morning, get up, get the dog fed, get my coffee going. Then I sit and like tinker on the internet for like half hour. Then I take the dog for a walk and go to work. That half hour, I'd rather not tinker on the internet. I'd rather fire up a video game, play for a little while, get some more time in the morning. I've talked about this before. I've tried it, but my setup is in my man cave in the basement. A little bit more of a commitment to walk down there and fire that thing up and play. And I never end up doing it. But having it just in the other room, as silly as that sounds, is going to make it easier for me. I'm right there with my wife, the pets, my cup of coffee. Yeah, I don't need to look at Facebook and Twitter for an hour, check out the political news or what have you. I'll just fire up a video game.
That's risky, man. I don't know how you could do that.
Do what?
Yep. Fire up a video game before work.
Yeah.
I could not go into work after starting to play a video game first thing in the morning, man. Like I'm up and I got to be out. I got to be at the mindset, get ready, get myself pumped. Is I guess they say or psyched to go to work.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm like you, Shane. I think I'm up and out in like half an hour. Woke up, showered,
Nice.
work, done. And yeah, if I started playing a video game, I'd probably be late for work. I think there'd be a real strong chance of that. Like start playing The Witcher 3 or something and be like, the phone goes, Karl, are you coming in today? Oh, shit. I'm really sick.
I'm one of those guys that gets up like 2.5 hours before I leave for work.
Oh, wow.
Get my cup of coffee. Usually take the dog for about 1.5 mile walk, shower. That's how I like decompress. Yeah. That's how I feel. That's gets to get the brain ready to get to work and start getting kicked around a little bit.
Nice.
So I think having that console under I'm going to give it a shot. For $250 for the new Xbox One S, I'll give her a shot. And check this.
Now, question is, does it have a disk drive?
It does.
Oh.
I had to get I have so many discs.
Yeah.
You know, Far Cry 5 is on disc. I'm playing that right now. I want to play that in the morning. I got to get the disc.
It's a missed opportunity there.
For them.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Nice.
We all do this, right? I'm still buying a lot of discs.
Oh yeah.
So now I got to walk downstairs to grab the disc. But besides that, I'm ready to go. You know what's really nice too? The cloud saves for Xbox. I haven't really tinkered a whole lot with these. But as I'm learning and I figured out, and part of the reason why I want Xbox upstairs instead of another PlayStation is because it's automatic. So when I'm playing my game in my basement, every time it saves, it automatically saves a file to the cloud. I can
Nice.
turn that off, go upstairs, in a matter of minutes, fire up the console upstairs, my save automatically there. I hit continue in my game. I don't have to do any fussing around. I don't have to go to like game data management, pull it down from the cloud, copy it to the hard. None of that. It's all seamless.
It works the same with PC as well. So if you're doing the Play Anywhere stuff, so I'll play Gears on PC and then go and play it on the Xbox, and it'll do the same. Just sync, done. It's so good.
That's pretty slick. That's really cool.
It is really nice. That's what sold me on that. Like, okay, if I'm gonna, the PlayStation's a little bit more of a rigmarole to get your save from the cloud to each console, and then there's the whole primary system situation.
Oh yeah. I know.
So if my primary is in the basement, then I go upstairs, grab that file, play upstairs, then I have to save it back to the cloud because it won't automatically save because that's my secondary console. And then last and certainly not least, I did the My Home Xbox thing, which is the game sharing deal. I did that on both consoles. So my wife's profile, she gets my Xbox Live for one cost, $60. We both have it, and all the games. On the PlayStation, I had to pay for her for a year plus just to play Don't Starve together.
Yeah.
Here she gets it just off my account, and the Game Pass is working. I tested it.
Ooh.
So the
There you
Game
go.
Pass games I'm downloading, she gets access to. Pretty slick.
Good family-friendly console there.
Works really well. Did you guys upgrade your Xbox Live memberships as well to the Ultimate? There was a little thing the other week, and just after E3, so I had Game Pass for a little bit, and I had Xbox Live Gold. I think I had Gold till the end of the year, and I had Game Pass until the end of July. And it said you can upgrade to Ultimate, for a pound basically. And me being a PC gamer, I thought, oh, that's great. Like, I'll do that and get a month for £1 or whatever. But then you do it and you go through it, and it just sent me a notification to say, great, we've upgraded you to Ultimate. And basically what they've done is put on the time from one package onto the other package and then extended the whole thing. So I've now got Ultimate until like the middle of March next year for the cost of £1. So that's pretty freaky nice, that is. And I've started having a little play with some of these games on PC and just grabbing them off the store and giving them a go, and it seems to be working quite well.
I was really curious about that. It gave me the little prompt for $1, same deal, right on the dashboard, upgrade to Ultimate. But I already have Xbox Live and I already have Game Pass. My Live, I think, is good until like April of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I don't want to start paying for Live again. I mean, I already have it. I thought it would automatically upgrade me to Ultimate because I already have Game Pass and I already have Live. But I have to tell it to. I have to say for $1 and then it'll do it, or that's what it sounds like.
You basically, it costs $1 first time around, and then the next time that you're up for renewal, so the next time it expires, you then pay like the $15 or whatever it would be a month. But what it does is kind of, if you've got Game Pass at the moment and Xbox Live, it puts the two of them together and extends it. So you end up with Ultimate so say if your Gold runs out in April next year and you've got Game Pass for another 3 months, you probably find out that you've got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate until July next year for the sake of $1.
Yeah. It counts the amount of months you have left, like say on Game Pass. If you have Live for 12 months and then 8 months of Game Pass, it'll change it to Ultimate for 20 months. It would tack the remainder on there.
So when do I start paying? I'm paying $9.99. I got monthly Game Pass. I pay $9.99 a month for that. Xbox Live, I paid the $60. I have the year.
Okay.
I start paying $15 now, or?
Yeah, if you upgrade now, Joel, then you won't have to pay Game Pass every month. So you'll save $10 a month until April next year.
I'm going to have to look into that. That doesn't sound right.
No, it's ridiculous. It's so good.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
All right, I'll click the block and see what happens. I've got $15 in my checking. I should be all right. We'll see what happens here.
There you go. Toss him a buck, buddy. You're gonna toss him a buck anyway. Toss him another.
I want to be ultimate. I gotta have it. I need
He's got to
ultimate.
have it.
Yeah. Put a big U next to my account. Bragging rights. Nah. But I was curious about that. Thanks for explaining it. That's it for me when I've been playing.
Do you guys big cricket fans?
Well, yes, I am.
Can't say that I am.
Well, I'm kind of with Joel on this one, Karl. Cricket's always, it's a great game. It's on. I think the World Cup of Cricket is going down right now as we speak, possibly. It's always fascinated me, the game, and there's been like cricket games that have come out on Xbox and PlayStation for numerous years now. So usually something you'd have to import and whatnot. And I've kind of hummed and hawed. I'd always like to try one. So I finally bought myself a cricket game. I bought Ash's Cricket. I don't know anything about cricket. So I figured, this would be a good way to learn. Maybe not. So I boot the game up and I'm going to go and play and then figure out an exhibition game. And there's a coin toss to who will be batting and who will be bowling to start off the match. Well, I thought, it'd be a great way to learn if I started by bowling or pitching right off the bat. That was a completely bad idea when you don't know the rules. So that went on for probably about an hour, and they had two batters that just kept going, and I think they had like 70 something runs, and I couldn't figure out how to get an out. And then it wasn't until I turned it off, I exited and tried it again. It's like, I want to bat first time and try that out. And that was a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, so goes my experience with cricket.
Wow. I'd have to pick this up and we'll have a game.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, we'll have a beer and have a few beers. The thing is, cricket helped make baseball accessible to me. Cricket is a dull thing. You can have a terrible game of cricket, and a test match like in the Ashes game that you've got here will typically last. You rock up at the ground at 10:30, 11 o'clock start, and it will finish at about 6:30 on the night. So it's a long day, yeah, and you're drinking all day. It's brilliant. Like if the sun's out, it's an amazing day. It really is good fun. But the rules are really, really convoluted. And if you've got a couple of good batsmen who are just sitting there and have a real good knock and they'll have a great partnership, then if your team is bowling, if you're the fielding team, then it can be a bit dull. But you want to see, it's good when those wickets start to fall, though, mate. Persevere. For the record, I have no idea what Karl was just talking about. Actually, no. I didn't. No. The game does play really well, though. I didn't have any hiccups when batting or bowling or anything. Fielding was nice and smooth. It seems like a quality game of cricket and whatnot. So it's just you have to pick up a rule book or sit on Wikipedia for a couple hours and really try to figure it out. But by all means, Karl, if you want to pick it up, I could use a helping hand with it. What is a fun time, fun to kind of dive into something that you know nothing about and give it a go. So
I like on our podcast agenda here, it says Ashes Cricket and bullet point, I don't know shit about the sport. I love it.
Yep. Good times.
You've got that device for your PS2. You want to talk a little bit about that, Shane?
Yeah. It's been going kind of, everything's been, the new gen and everything's kind of going to streaming and whatnot, it seems like. And, I like my physical media. I've been going back and doing a lot of retro things. So, last month or so has been a lot of the PS3 and then, dusted off the PS2. And, thought I'd give it a go. But I don't like all the component cables and having to dig those out and then try to wire everything in the back of the TV, and it just all the spaghetti that you get from all the wires. I'm not a huge fan of. I like it a little bit neat and tidier. So I went out and ordered the Pound HD Link cable for PlayStation 2, and it also works on PlayStation 1. Just grabbing it here so I know what I'm looking at. What is it's a little device, plugs right into the back. Use the same cables that you would plug your component cables into your PS2, and then at the end of the cable is a little box, and the little box has little HDMI slot on the end. You plug it in, and it also comes with it needs to be USB powered. And luckily, the PS2 has a couple of USB slots. So you got a couple extra little cables that'll be sitting right next to the PS2, but helps get rid of all that spaghetti and whatnot. And I don't like having to pull the cables out, and then if I want to move it into the bedroom and play a game, then I gotta dig in behind the TV and whatnot. So it's an easy, inexpensive way to use HDMI on your PlayStation 1 and PS2.
Looks kind of no fuss there. Connection, HDMI little port. Looks pretty easy to set up. How does it work? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's super simple, and that's one of the big things I was looking for. I don't care to have everything, up res to. It doesn't have to be 1080p or 4K or anything. There's definitely a lot more expensive ways to do it, for lack of a better term, properly or whatnot. But this is just an easy way. Plugging it in, it's super simple, and when you get into playing some games, there's definitely some pros and cons. PS2 had multiple different ways to do their video output. There were games that would run 480p. I think there's Gran Turismo 4 even got up to 1080i at some point. But that doesn't really work with this cable. What you do is you go into your PS2, change your settings to the RGB, which is what it bases it off of. So instead of having a wider range of video options that look really, really good, they tone that in so you get up to 720p across the board. But in doing so, it allowed them to support all of the PS1 library. So instead of just getting really good PS2 graphics and whatnot, they kind of sacrifice that a little bit to have a wider library of games that would be able to take advantage of something like this. And the ease of use is probably one of the biggest things for the Pound HD Link.
Does the PS1 have a USB slot on it?
No.
So how do you hook that thing up to the Pound HD deal?
You'd have to plug it into a wall, or if you got a power bar that's got the USB or whatnot, or your receiver even possibly. But the PS2 also plays PS1 games, and it plays them really well. So there's that option there, so you don't have your PS1 sitting there or whatnot. But it's it's $29.99 US. I don't think you're going to find a better way of going HDMI for PlayStation 2 for the money. Like I said, there's definitely more expensive and better ways to do it, but it's super simple. It works. The games, they're cleaned up a bit. It's not going to be like jaw-dropping night and day difference, but it cleans them up nicely. The one problem is it stretches it to full screen. So there's some games where it's more noticeable than others. There's a couple racing games I tried, Need for Speed Underground, and it just looked awful being stretched. It was really, really tough. But other games, Test Drive Unlimited I put in. Mind you, that's a bad example because, you could stretch it a mile wide and I'd still think it looks great. I just love that game. But Gran Turismo looked great on there. Played some NHL on it. And, a little bit of stretching didn't bother me, didn't hinder, the experience for me very much. The picture does come through a little bit darker than what you may remember. It's a weird kind of thing with the box. It's not a game breaker at all or anything, but it's just little things. There is side effects to using it. It's not perfect, but it's easy. It works. It's cheap. And, so far I'm enjoying it. It wouldn't be to the point where I'd send it back or, stay away from it. It's a neat option that's, affordable and easy to use.
Yeah, for that price too. $29 US. That's pretty reasonable. Wouldn't expect perfection with that price.
Exactly. And just plug it in, fire the PS2 up, boom, ready to go. You're playing the game. Got the flatty turned on. You can go on your TV and change the aspect ratio that way.
Yeah.
And then it'll, sort itself out a little better. But it's what it is, and it's a good cable. You want something cheap that does the job? Can't go wrong with it.
Nice. I don't even think my modern television, my 4K, I don't even think it has a component cable input. I think it's all HDMI.
Nice.
That's not, no, I'd rather have component on there. I just don't think it has it. You guys, your 4K TVs, does it still have a component hookup?
Mine does.
Mine does, yeah.
I don't know. Mine's on the wall. I should take it off and look. I just don't recall that it did.
Nah, you don't want to pull it off the wall just for that. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I take it off the wall as often as I can. I like the clean setup though. Also very important to me. Hence why I love backwards compatibility. I don't need 15 consoles under my television.
There you go. There's a good proponent there. Yeah, no, man. Man, the one thing that's really is the timing in a lot of these games and using that old DualShock 2. What an experience, man. Man, we were spoiled with the new generation, man. Everything's super smooth and, so realistic and whatnot. Going back and playing some of these, a little bit clunky at times, but, back in the day we were playing and we'd rush home, to get your favorite game the day it would come out and just enjoy the hell out of it, man. You'd use your imagination more with these games and whatnot, but man, and they got PS2 such a great library too, man. I've just been digging in and playing some games that I've missed, never got into and whatnot. And now that they're so cheap, you can buy all that stuff used for, $5-10 here and there. So good times, boys.
Nice. I must admit, I need to jump back into that retro game. I've got a load of games sitting here. Need to boot them up. But one game I've been playing, which kind of classes as retro now, I guess, it was last gen, as well as this gen, Borderlands 2. I've been checking out that new free DLC that they dropped at E3, the Captain Lilith and the Fight for Sanctuary. Now, one thing I would say, this DLC is free at the moment, but it isn't staying free. This is something that's kind of been buried in the small print, I think, a little bit, but it's free at the minute. I think if you want to pick it up, you've got to do so before the 8th of July, at which point they will be charging for it then. But I've played through it. I've obviously finished it and defeated the raid boss that is a bonus in this as well. This is actually quite a good little bit of story. It's quite a nice chunk of DLC. It sits well with the other stuff that they've got, with the previous DLC packs. Not as good as the Dungeons and Dragons one, the one I forget now.
Tiny Tina.
That thing's brilliant, but it's not bad. For free, I think it does. They've said in it that it bridges the story between 2 and 3, which I don't really think it does a lot of that. It kind of tells a little bit of a story. There's a crazy dude called Hector, and he's taking control of the plant life on Pandora, and he steals the vault key in order to just make it a paradise, do what he wants to do with Pandora. And this kind of has a knock-on effect of Sanctuary, not being there anymore in Borderlands 3, let's say. But there's a good few missions in there. There's a good, the characters come back. It's very much, it feels part of the original game. I've really enjoyed playing through it. The new raid boss, Hedrax, the Invincible, is pretty cool. It's quite a fun fight to do. It's challenging a little bit, and there's a couple of little tricks to it, which means you can solo it, as opposed to something like what was that one that we struggled on Shane? That big dude, Terra Max or something.
Terra Morpheus,
that's the one. Yeah, I'd struggle to solo him, but I could solo Hedrax with a little bit of a idea of where best to sit yourself and stuff. So it's pretty cool. New tier of weapons. There's some new effervescent weapons, which are pretty cool. They look all shiny and holography, and when you equip them, they give you like set bonuses. So if you want to go back, if you haven't played the other DLC for Borderlands 2, now that it's free on Plus, if you play this DLC first, the drops there, like the shields, a couple of different guns, will give you a boost. If you want to play, say, like the Digistruck Peak DLC, it'll give you like a set bonus to take that DLC on and give you a boost in those fights. So some pretty cool ideas, I think, the Gearbox have thrown into this. It does feel like it perhaps was made for something like the pre-sequel or something else. It was already in the works. It feels to me, and they've kind of like molded it into something between 2 and 3. But for free, I think it's fun. It does tell the story, and it does a story. But they could have easily done it with a Marcus narrative. Let me tell you a story, and then it goes into the cutscenes and stuff. They could have done that for this little bit of story, but I'm glad they didn't. More Borderlands is good Borderlands, and free is a good price.
Here.
It's going to be nice to kind of refresh the franchise, right? For people who haven't played it in a while. Just get your hands back in there, used to the mechanics again, the story, the loot shooter kind of deal that's going on in that game. Get you ready. Maybe build some excitement. September, right? Borderlands 3?
Oh, yeah.
Couple months away, right around the corner.
And especially with the Handsome Collection being free on Plus as well as Xbox Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think hopefully this is Play Anywhere. I'm going to be playing this on PC again.
How many hours, dude? Like 4 or 5 hours DLC there? Or is it longer, shorter?
It's a good little chunk. There's a load of new locations. I think there's a new level cap and stuff. So it's quite the challenge. If you play through on the appropriate difficulty, I think you've got a good 5 or 6 hours of challenging there, and that's without probably doing all of the side quests. I must admit, when I finished it and I'd killed Hederax, I went back when I found him pretty much straight away after finishing the main story. There's still probably 20 side quests I haven't even done yet, so I'll keep going back to this for a little bit here and there and picking those off. But yeah, it's definitely for free. I'd grab it while it's free, and then maybe have a little play of it just before Borderlands 3 hits.
Sounds pretty meaty. I saw on our Instagram account at A Band of Gamers, where Shane handles most of that, a neat little picture, a big crowd over the weekend here. Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo. Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo. Correct, sir.
How'd it go? How was it, man?
Man, it was the
second year in a row, right?
Yet. It's packed. So many people, man. Like the crowd just grows every year after year. It's my 3rd year, I think, going.
Oh.
But yeah, gnarly, man. It takes place at the Anvil Center. It's a nice little convention hall in New Westminster, British Columbia, just outside Vancouver there. And it's just one day. They got the main floor where there's all the vendors. You can buy anything and everything. They have the upstairs where they have like a free play area. They have a bunch of consoles all set up. And they even had a PlayStation Classic set up with a dongle in it for you could try. Wow. And they had a little stage set up. They had some music going on. It was, good time in there. They had a bunch of older consoles set up that you could try. Like, or back when like computers were like the size of like a small car, and they were like half a megabyte in size, and then they would run a video game. They would have a couple of those set up, so you could really get some throwback action in there. They had a number of speakers, parts of the Metal Jesus Crew, which is a very popular YouTube channel of gaming. They were there doing some speeches. The immortal John Hancock, legend, one of the nicest guys. Always good catching up with him. Radical Reggie, just solid peeps there. And yeah, it's a good time, man. It always is, man. It's like $25 to get in, for the day, come and go. There's a little restaurant there as well, but there's so much to do, so much to buy. Man, unbelievable. I saved up for a couple months to make sure I had some cash in there. And good thing I did, man. Took home a nice little satchel of used games and whatnot, some retro games, PS2 games. And yeah, man, Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo, great stuff. Kind of goes in line with the one that happens in Seattle, I think about a month ago. And then there's a big one down in Portland, Oregon. So the big one, I think that happens in October. And it's really, really cool to see the videos. You should probably go down there one of these days and check it out, because it's probably the biggest one out here. So
you wore a Midwest Gaming Classic shirt. Did you get any comments? Anybody like, hey, I know MGC?
Unfortunately not.
Oh,
no.
yes.
Yeah. I did rock the Drink Wisconsin hoodie, which I love. So comfy in that thing. And every once in a while I get people that point that one out. They would say, oh, I like that or whatnot. And I've been to a couple of gigs and I've had like, oh, Wisconsin. Like, yeah, Kenosha, man. Right, buddy.
Well done.
Or no, not Kenosha. What's the other town? Was it Point Claire?
Eau Claire.
Point Place? There you go.
Eau Claire.
Point Place. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it's always good. Lots of nerd flu going down. There's people breaking the rules because in the rule book it says to treat everybody with respect. No cheating because there's tournaments that go on, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the rules is in there in bold. Do not be smelly. Well, that rule just goes like right out the window, man. I was thinking like I should volunteer and I'll just stand out front and I'll give them the sniff test, and then we'll have like we'll buy like a pressure washer and have that set up with like a bucket, and we'll just spray them down right outside the gate there. Just probably be a little bit inhumane, but come on, guys, put a little bit of deodorant on. Leaving the house, I don't care what you do at home. You got a bedpan, you're covered in Cheetos or whatever. Don't care what you do at home. You're going out, wash yourself down. Put a little stick on. Be a little courteous for everybody else. It's not always about you and what you want. Just have a little courtesy. It's not hard.
Don't be bad mouthing Karl's Cheetos, man. Come on, don't associate.
No disrespect to Cheetos. Just disrespect to the people that eat the Cheetos and then they don't wash their fingernails. So they get man, walking around, you got those Cheetos hands on everything. You could track the guy throughout down there because of everything he's touched, and there's just a trail of Cheeto dust leading you to this.
Oh, dude, no.
What's helped with Midwest Gaming Classic is the area venue. Just making it a big facility has really kind of helped the smell thing. The kind of tight quarters there at the Vancouver one.
Yeah, like I said, this is probably the biggest crowd they've had yet, and I think it might be time to start looking at a little bit bigger of a venue, because that vendor hall, I mean, you could stand there for 5-10 minutes waiting to look in a bin of games because there's just so many people and it didn't matter where you turned, there was always somebody there. I think, and as beautiful as the Anvil Center is, it is a really, really great venue, very easily accessible. It's but yeah, maybe time to, or maybe make it a 2-day thing now. That might, alleviate some of the crowd and whatnot. But we got there, I think the doors opened at 11 and it was, well lined up around the block. It was pretty crazy, but always a good time. Good catching up with some people, ran to some old friends and whatnot. Always good stuff. One game I did buy, because it's always really expensive and you never see it and people always want to mint for it, and I've won this game for years and years, is Outrun Coast to Coast on the PS2. Outrun's an incredible racing series, long history, super fun, super easy to pick up and play. I actually did see it there, obviously, because I bought it, and yeah, it's like, what the hell? Spent a little bit more than maybe I should have, but hey, it's in the collection. Very clean. Disc is in great shape. It's had the manual, everything. It's got its battle scars. It's been enjoyed. Somebody enjoyed the hell out of this game. And now it's my turn. Be locked in the vault. And it's not locked in the vault. I'm playing it already, so it's good stuff.
Played the Genesis version of Outrun the other day. Not a good game.
Really?
Yeah, no.
A little bit dated?
It's just not. The arcade version was better. And it wasn't like close enough to the arcade version. It was a little 16-bit console rough compared to the arcade.
Yeah, great series though. And that's the Coast to Coast. Boys Learned was the kind of the definitive version of it. I think they had the arcade version on the disc as well. I think Outrun 2, I think it is. But yeah, it's on there as well, which is really great. One thing I noticed going through those games is the manuals. The manual is kind of a lost art now because you never get the manuals. They're all digital, right? Because the whole, the environment and go on a pipeline, whatever. But in the manuals, there's always a couple pages for notes.
Oh yeah.
Like what notes are you putting in there? It's like, hold on. You sit down, open up the book, and then just start writing. You start writing a novel. Like you're, Professor Highbrow here, and gonna put all my notes in here from this game of Asteroids I just played, or Pac-Man and what, I don't know.
Well, on the Nintendo, it was your codes, right? Got to put my 16-digit code in so I can start on level 3 next time I turn it back on.
Yep. No. Get a pad of lined paper, write it in there, and leave it in the book, and then you'd lose it.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
To be fair, I think that's what we did. I never wanted to write. I never wanted to soil my my manual.
Right. Yeah. But no, it's man, it's just full of retro goodness. Just always a good time. Always fun. Looking forward to next year, and maybe next year I'll get a deodorant stick and then just kind of like put a line like above my upper lip under my nose there, so then I don't have to worry about it. But
not a bad idea.
Love it.
Karl liked that one.
A little selfish question here, since I run the stage at MGC, Midwest Gaming Classic. Any tips? What as a attendee, what about the stage and the music, if anything, grabbed your attention and you really liked?
Just seeing people perform is always good, and just inviting people like that to and artists and musicians to something like a gaming convention. I think it just opens it up, and the accessibility for people that may not have heard or know, or may not even be interested, but for that afternoon or whatnot, you sit down and listen to somebody play like some retro themes and whatnot. It's interesting, and I think it helps bridge that gap a little bit better with gaming and music, because they're two passionate hobbies, especially of ours, and it's just good to see. I mean, anytime you see somebody with talent up there doing something, I'm always support it regardless of what it is. But it's not quite to the level of MGC, and the clips I've seen that happens at MGC and the Band of Gamers stages is truly something else. And all of Joel's hard work is definitely on display there year after year. So, but yeah, it's good, man. Anytime you have people up there doing their thing, it's always a good thing, and always good to just stop and take a moment and just watch. Do your part. Give them your attention. They deserve it. Every one of them. So it's it was good. A lot of fun.
That's how we roll. Anybody else stop in and watch? They get a little crowd over there, or was it kind of just more of an afterthought?
A little bit. It was in the same room as the free play stuff, so everybody's playing, kind of playing and kind of watching. There's a couple of little clusters of people then watching and enjoying it and whatnot. But there's so many people coming and going. I'm sure, like you see at MGC. But yeah.
Well, I've got a bit of a EP-ness to throw into the mix. Just a little one, so to speak.
Swing.
Man.
So we play a lot of games by Ratalaka, and we've got a lot of these downloaded, ready to go. And I wanted something I could play primarily on the Vita, just to get into it and see what the game was all about, and then finish off on the PS4 for a cheeky plat. So I picked up, which Shane might have in his library, we'll see, but Zerotopian Invasion, it's called. And if you're familiar with the original Space Invaders, this game is very similar. It gives a lot of those retro vibes. It's super, super easy to play. Perhaps can get a little bit tricky. You only get a couple of lives. You can collect 1 or 2 power-ups as you play through. You can get a shield. You can increase the rate of fire a little bit. But the game does get pretty brutal. It's kind of like a Galaga in a little bit as well, because you've got a break in between the screens. You've got 2 or 3 screens per world. And once you've killed the boss in that world on the sort of the 3rd level, you get a little introductory wave-based level where these guys come super quick down the screen for you. And it's a risk versus reward thing. You can take them out, or you can try and let them go past and just keep your lives intact. If you then die on the following world, then you actually just start back at that wave of enemies. So you kind of, once you've got the first world done, you're good, and you can keep continuing if you want to for World 2. You only need to defeat the 2 bosses, the World 1 and World 2 bosses, to get the platinum. It doesn't take too long, probably 30, 45 minutes, something along those lines. Fairly straightforward.
I'm listening. I like how this sounds. 30 minutes, 45 tops. Yeah, might be something I could stretch an evening out to. Stay up a little bit later than normal.
And it does scratch that retro itch a little bit as well. It feels like an old arcade game, which is quite nice. So,
not one that I currently have, but I definitely keep my eye on. It's probably on sale right now. Like a lot of these games are usually go for a couple quid or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I pick them up. I just keep a list, an idea of the publisher and all the games on the wish list. And when they go on offer, when they go on sale, just grab more and then pick them up as you can.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun game. I might even try that.
Whoa.
Right? Get my second plat.
Get that Vita, get your third one.
I like those old school shooters. The Galaga space. That thing's boxed up, man.
Right.
Well, before we get over to our drinks and side B music, thank you for listening. We really appreciate you giving us 90 minutes or so of your free time every other week. That work-life balance thing in mind, to find 90 minutes to share your time and listen to us means the world to us. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, if you want to tell a friend about ABOG, we'd appreciate that as well. We're not asking for our ego. We're not asking to make a buck. But we do put a decent amount of time, energy, and money into this hobby. And it's really nice when we know other people are out there checking it out. Makes it all worthwhile. Puts a little fuel in our gas tank, if you will. And take a second to say hello for the same reasons. Maybe join up in our Discord, participate over there, or just find us on social media. Say, hey, that you're listening and you appreciate it. And we'll feel great about that. So thank you in advance. You can find all that information on abandonedgamers.com, right on our homepage, all the social media links, the Discord server, all that good stuff. Let's get over to what we've been drinking, or what I've been drinking. I don't see you guys drinking anything yet, Shane and Karl. But I'm going to have to slow down because I still got a whole record to explain here in a few minutes.
Ha.
I've got a very hefty 1840. Love those guys. This is called Spurberry's Finest. I originally had this beer. They called it Before the Barrel Stout. They released it quite a few months ago.
Yes.
And I tried it. I'm like, I'm not even a stout guy. But when I had that Before the Barrel Stout at 1840, I'm like, you know what? I might be a stout guy. This is really good. And then they let it age for 6 months and released it in this form, the Spurberry's Finest. It's a 12.7%. That's why I need to slow down a little bit. It was aged in barrels, originally bourbon. So the barrels they're using were originally bourbon barrels. And then later those barrels were used for Vermont maple syrup.
Whoa.
So they have the flavor of the bourbon and the maple syrup in the wood. Aged for 6 months. According to the bottle here, it says notes of blueberry, chocolate chip pancakes, burnt sugar, and molasses. I bought a couple of these because it was bottled March 18th, which at that point, for me at least, spring, summer, I'm not drinking very thick stouts like out on the patio in the summer heat. This is my last one of these. I took one to a work outing a couple weeks back. We did like an after work thing at my boss's beach house. I've got a couple coworkers who enjoy a good beer. So I brought a bottle of this, and all the eyebrows raised when they took a first sip, like, whoa, what's this 1840 you speak of? This is a very good beer. It's chocolatey, it's thick, it's got a little bit of like that creamy head to it, kind of sitting there gently on the top. And you can taste that sweet from the maple and the bourbon in this. Very good. Very good stout. We had together in Vancouver, we had the vanilla drinking chocolate, I think it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just, it doesn't have that sweetness from the vanilla, but 1840 really does a good stout. And this is probably one of their finest examples. It's delicious. I was going to do a cashmere, which they just released. And apparently they do it every quarter. But I bought a 12-pack a week ago, and I've got 6 left. So I'm like, nope, saving that one. Couldn't do it. This, I got to drink this. It's dated 3/18. They don't pull the oxygen out of the bottles, so they don't last a whole long time. I had to drink it down. Worth it.
Attaboy.
Very delicious.
A deadly looking stout as well.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Just got that little bit of head on there, and just you can tell we're looking at it. It's strong.
Yeah, it's strong.
Yeah.
Get that Cosmo action there.
I'm kind of feeling it, to be honest.
I don't know. Fancy drinking it. It's pretty much summertime though, and it's not really the time for stouts. No, it's getting on for the warm weather.
I can't
kind of go out the window, really.
I can't let this one go to waste, though.
No, I hear you, dude. As I also have a stout.
Oh,
Yes, snuck it in there. This little beauty. We've got a few breweries over here that just brew for supermarkets, and Hyde and Wild are one of those. They do this for Sainsbury's, and I've had their IPA before, which was really good. And I've had this oatmeal stout that they've been doing for in the cupboards for a little while, and decided to crack a few of these open on the weekend. And this is a really nice, cheap. They were selling these off. I think they ordered too many, or they weren't going down very well because it was hot, summertime, and they were flogging off for like £1 a can. I was like, yeah, I'll get a load of those because I like me a stout. It's only 5%. It's quite a lightweight. It doesn't. If you like a Guinness, maybe want something with a bit more flavour, like a bit more, got a coffiness, the chocolate in it, and obviously it's got an oaty kind of finish on it as well. It's real good. It's smooth as anything, and the head stays on there. Nice little bit of time as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of a treat, if you like, from your local supermarket.
A little bit more of a frothy head. Mine's got kind of like that chocolatey kind of head to it. Yours has got more of a typical beer head, leaving the trail down the glass too. Looks like a little bit.
It's lighter. I think it's only a 5%, so it does remind you a little bit of that Guinness kind of texture, but with less of the cream in that head. But yeah, still a mighty fine little stout.
I do not have a stout.
Boo.
But I have a beer where it's that time of year where it is hotter. I know we've said you want something a little bit lighter, a little bit more refreshing, nice and crisp. Well, the fine folks at Parallel 49, my favorite brewery, are celebrating their 7th anniversary. And every year, their anniversary, they do a kind of special one-off beer. So I went down there yesterday to grab it, and their 7th anniversary beer is it's a Mexican cerveza, purple corn cerveza. Yes,
Ooh.
purple corn user. And it actually gives it a bit of a kind of rose kind of tinge to it a little bit. I've drank about half this beer already, so I mean, if you had to see a full pint, it looks a little bit more tinged. But it's very good, very refreshing. It's a lightweight, weighs in at 4.2, almost a super featherweight, we might even say.
Is that the lightest beer you've had on the show?
Might be.
I reckon it is,
That and a Guinness, yeah, it would be. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, and it says on there, 7 years of grabbing the bull by the horns has gotten us this far. So trust us and take a stab at this no BS purple corn cerveza. Another reason why I want to use this one is the label on it. They have fantastic labels. You've definitely seen them. We've posted them numerous times. This might be my new favorite. It's kind of a double labeled on one side of the can. You have the Matador, as the beer's called, El Matador. And then as you spin the can on the other side, there's the bull. And it's a really, really cool way of doing this label art for this one. Steve did a fantastic job. Might be my new favorite label. There's excellent stuff from Parallel. Very crisp, very clean, delicious. Keep you hydrated, quench your thirst at the same time.
Looks really good. All right, gentlemen, raise them glasses. Anybody have a cheers specifically, or is it just to us and to this good beer?
To the good beer.
To the good beer.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Welcome to Side B, music.
The recommended record this episode is from me. Normally, we like to do more independent albums. And although this is on Southeastern Records, so it's not a giant label, I think a lot of people are familiar with Jason Isbell. But I am new to Jason Isbell within the last few months, and this record means the world to me. I love this album, so I wanted to talk about it. I knew Shane and Karl hadn't heard it, and if you're unfamiliar, if you haven't heard it, you're in for a treat. This is Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. That's his band. The album's called The Nashville Sound. It's on Southeastern Records, as I just mentioned, released in 2017, so we're going back a little bit. It is his last release, however. 10 songs, 40 minutes. The man, the music, the songwriting, almost poetic, how he puts his words together. Can tell he takes a lot of care and time and thought into all of his lyrics. I am not normally a lyrics guy. If you've been listening for a while, you'll know this. But when there's a record that's got really good, meaningful, powerful lyrics, I do kind of cue into them. I think that's what it takes. In the 400 Unit, his band, he's got his very talented wife with him, Amanda Shires, plays the fiddle. Also a recording artist, has got her own records, good singer. And they have just really good harmonies together on the record. It's kind of touching. If you watch any like live clips of them together, they're very much in love. You can kind of see that chemistry when they look at each other and they're smirking and smiling. It's touching when you see live clips of them together. Music is probably Americana, folk, alternative country. It's definitely not pop country, and it's not really old school country. So I think the alternative country is probably the most apt category, I guess, to put it in. A little bit of rock mixed in there. Jason, really good singer, also a very good guitar player. He's formerly a lead guitar player for Drive-By Truckers. And he's been doing the solo thing now for, 8 years or something. He's been doing this a little while. The 400 Unit, who plays behind him, very, very talented guys. It's a pretty small band. You get your bass player, another guitar player, keys, his wife on the fiddle, and drums. But pretty straightforward. The album's produced by Dave Cobb. And Dave Cobb, my buddy Eric, just raves about Dave Cobb all the time. Anything Dave Cobb puts out, my buddy goes and buys. He's a pretty good producer. And I looked it up. I got to look up Dave Cobb and what does that mean to this record? He focuses on vocals and likes to record analog. And that makes sense in the context of this album. There's definitely a focus on the vocal, even though Jason's a lead player himself. Guitars are kind of more tucked in there on the record. Dave Cobb also produced another album real high on our list, Hollow Bones by Rival Sons. It surprised me a little bit because he's more known for like Sturgill Simpson. He did the meta-modern sounds in country music. Coulter Wall, Stapleton. Done a lot of those records. It's very well produced, I guess is why I bring this up. Record sounds incredible. He sings a lot about, Jason does on this record, real life, relatable topics. I hate to say it's an adult lyric, but that's the best way I can put it. Just very mature, like a guy who's lived through a lot, through drug addiction and through the loss of his parents and marriage and another band and having children. And a lot of that gets into the lyrical content, which in my opinion makes him very relatable. It's kind of the opposite. I was telling my wife this the other night, kind of the opposite of the Beatles, right? The Beatles sing this like high level kind of whimsical lyric that anybody in almost any situation can grab onto and be like, that's about me. Jason Isbell is more like very specific with what he's singing about. The album deals with racism, his overcoming drug addiction, love, death, dignity. There's a tune on here called If We Were Vampires. Every time the song comes on, my wife starts crying. No joke. Every time. Because it's a love song, but it's just very touching, and it hits home a little bit for us because, I almost croaked on a heart attack. And the lyric, let me just read a little bit of the lyrics here for you. If we were vampires and death was a joke, we'd go out on the sidewalk and smoke and laugh at all the lovers and their plans. I wouldn't feel the need to hold your hand. Maybe time running out is a gift. I'll work hard to the end of my shift and give you every second I can find and hope it isn't me who's left behind. It's knowing that this can't go on forever. Likely one of us will have to spend some days alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together, but one day I'll be gone, or one day you'll be gone. And that song hits a little close to home, especially for my wife. And even live, I had a chance to see him live a week ago here in Milwaukee, and he played this tune, the last tune of his set. She just grabbed onto me like, oh shit, here we go. But it's also a very good love song. I don't know. I think I've said a lot about the album. It's good music, good lyrics. It's touching. For whatever reason, it's grabbed its hooks onto me, and I've become just a big Jason Isbell fan. And in my book, this is the album I wanted to share that I think represents him and his music very, very well. The Nashville Sound. Before we get to Shane and Karl's thoughts, we'll share our community rating over on Discord. If you'd like to contribute to a future conversation, a future recommended record, please do so. You can join up our Discord server at bandofgamers.com/Discord. Community gave it overall a 4.75 out of 5. Kafad says, yeah, very chill and relaxing. Would love to sip on some whiskey while listening to this. Sounds like he was born to sing. 4.5 out of 5. Gardening Girl 5, my wife, 5 beers. It's a phenomenal album. Very succinct there, Shay. Tim Paulin, 5 out of 5 beers. Brad, I didn't realize that he chimed in on this. Excellent. He says, I like it, but it's too chill for me most of the time. I respect the talent, but I'm in the mood for stuff like this once a year. 3 beers. So I guess I have to, not knowing his score there, I need to bring down the overall average score. Probably more like a 4 out of 5. Average that out. But I am curious what Shane and Karl think of this record. I think it is maybe outside of their wheelhouse a little bit. I know they're both open-minded, however, so I wouldn't say it's impossible for them to like this, but I'm curious. Which one of you wants to get started letting me know your thoughts on this Jason Isbell and the 400 unit, the Nashville Sound record?
Well, I'll go first. I think Shane normally dives in there. I listened to this a few times. I did struggle with it a couple of times, I've got to admit. It's maybe hit me the wrong time when I've been listening to everything under the sun that's heavy, and then then started picking this up, and I was like, okay. There's a couple of songs in there I really do like, and that one, Joel, where where's the track listing gone here? So yeah, If We're Vampires, that tune I can understand completely. It pulls at the heartstrings very much. It's definitely a very emotive tune, and there's a couple of really emotive tunes on this album. Cumberland Gap I really like. I think that's one of the more rocking tunes on there. I think they're capable of being rocking. The only kind of drawback for me is when this album gets going and sounds rocking, it kind of reminds me of Springsteen, and I'm not really a Springsteen fan. And that's just the way that it grabs me. Last of My Kind, I think, is a great opening tune. It's again very mellow, and I think I kind of prefer the mellow to when he kind of tries to pick it up and give you a bit more, heavy rocking sound. I think he tries to deal with a lot of stuff on the record. The only song I quite like, White Man's World. I think that I like the lyrics in that, and I think it's quite a tough topic to sing about a little bit, and especially when he's talking about maybe wishing that maybe he hadn't been one of the guys, and maybe making jokes and things, and he looks back at himself and thinks actually maybe that wasn't an insensitive, maybe a little bit racist and stuff, and that's kind of makes you think. Obviously the world's changed a lot in the 20, 30, 40 years. The only tune that really I didn't get on with is Anxiety. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think, I don't know. I think for an album that tries to deal with a lot of stuff, I think sometimes it isn't as punchy as I would hope it would have been. So Anxiety and just kind of missed me a little bit maybe. But If We're Vampires just had me like almost welling up as well. I'm sort of like sitting listening to that thinking, yeah, this could be on my funeral playlist, and I put it on there. But White Man's World, again, it's a thought provoking tune. I think overall it's a good album. It's an album I enjoyed listening to, but it didn't have the pull for me that I think if I'd liked a bit of Springsteen, maybe that kind of sound that when it lifts itself up and it's a conscious thing, you've got them tunes on there which are a bit more banging, then it might have evened that out for me. But that actually made me think the other way for it. So it's it's. I'm glad you recommended it. I've enjoyed listening to it, and I will continue to listen to it. But there might be just a couple of and bizarrely a couple of the heavier tunes on there that I actually skip. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I don't. The Springsteen thing I don't catch, but I kind of get the frame of reference. Just in full disclosure, I'm not a big Springsteen guy myself.
Yeah, I guess the Americana kind of, but for me, yeah, it's some great tunes on there. Really enjoyed some of them, but yeah, I think as a whole, it maybe just knocks it down from being a great album to being a very good album. It's still a good album.
Writing superb lyrics is not easy, and getting superb lyrics to match up with the writing a melody for it is equally, if not easy. Jason Isbell makes it work, and he makes it work throughout this record. I didn't expect to like this as much as I do. I think the Vampires tune is the peak of the album. It's definitely the best tune on there, easily. The first couple of listens is kind of like it's kind of lightning in a bottle with that one, but there is some really great tunes on there. A little bit of Springsteen, but it's filling that Ryan Adams gap for me. I know we were supposed to get some new Ryan Adams music this year, but that's not happening. And this is filling that void. I'm kind of with Brad on this, where you definitely kind of need to be in the mindset to put it on and dive into it. But I could see myself diving into this more often than not. It is just a quality record. Mixing, the production on it is fantastic. Everything is where it should be. There's little guitar accents that come in just at the right times. It's very, very good. Very good record. I was kind of surprised to see it's a couple of years old, this album, but yeah, man, she is some good stuff here, Joel. This is a really good one. Checked out some live clips, and a solid band. Solid band. You definitely see that live. You could tell he's one of those guys who's very, very professional up there with his band. Very strict. Not necessarily strict, but everything done the way it's supposed to be, and he does a fantastic job with it. So yeah, this is it's a very good record, man. Really, really surprised. Kind of, there's some harder moments on the album to listen to because of the subject matter and how well he paints certain pictures. So I still have my guard up on a few tunes that are kind of like, nope, you're not getting into me. Nope, you are not. Nope, stay away from the heartstrings. It's not happening today. And I just enjoy it for what it is, and it's fantastic. But there's definitely gonna be times where I know I'm gonna put this on, and yeah, it's gonna dig me right out. But yeah, dude, fantastic record, Joel. Great recommendation. Easy 4 out of 5. I'd say an 8.4 out of 10. Easily an 8.4. Very, very high score on this one. Excellent stuff.
You leaned in, Karl. I thought you were going to say something.
I was just going to reiterate the same frame of scoring. I think it'd be a 4 out of 5. If I could appreciate some of the poppier, not the poppy, but when I'm saying Springsteen, like when it gets to those points, if I could appreciate that more, it would be a 5 out of 5 potentially. But because that's not me, it's difficult. I can appreciate it and I enjoyed it, but again, I'd say a solid 4 out of 5. I can completely understand why people who are into that genre would say this is almost a perfect album. I could totally get people saying it's 5 out, because you're right, it is really well produced. It sounds phenomenal. His voice sounds phenomenal. It's just a couple of them tunes for me, but still, yeah, real good recommendation.
The lyrics, Shane was talking about this, and it made me remember I wanted to mention this. The fact that you put your guard up sometimes, like, no, I'm not going to let this. He does that to me too, no question. Maybe not as much as my wife. But to me, he has like a little bit of optimism in his lyrics. Like, even though he's dealing with these really tough subjects, you can just feel that he's optimistic about it. Like glasses half full, I guess, about very sad like content.
Yeah, he gives you that, but it's okay though. He has that feeling to it. Light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, things are shit, but it's okay. You definitely get that vibe and give you a little smirk here and there.
Also, really appreciate in seeing him live. He did treated me at least, to some really great guitar solos for like 20 seconds. He'd let himself go a little bit, and you just start to hear like these little flourishes. I mean, the man can play, but I love an album where you've got really great musicians who focus on the song and focus on the lyric and the melody and pull way back. But just in these moments, you hear these little flourishes. And this record's got a lot of those moments for me, where the slide guitar will come in for just a few seconds, just to color a lyric or color a vocal or a melody or a chorus. I quite like that about it. It was great seeing him live. I splurged, got like 5th row tickets. It was just an excellent concert. I'm so moved by him that I'm considering like, okay, where is he playing next? Like where can we go? He's playing Red Rocks in September.
Whoa.
But my wife reminded me that we might go see Karl in September. So I'm like, all right. I need to chill out a little bit, but I would love to go see him again. This album and the man and the songs have really moved me. So I appreciate you guys checking it out. I know it's kind of outside of your norm and my norm even, but it was great to bring it to the show, and hopefully you all enjoyed it out there as well. Let us know feedback at Abandoned Gamers or on social media if you gave this album a listen and what you think of it. I'm also listening to, I just mentioned the live show, Jason Isabel. He co-headlined with Father John Misty, who actually left pretty impressed by. Not normally my thing, his albums, but he was really good live. And it was Polish Fest that this thing was going on the downtown Summerfest grounds. Like a Polish sausage and some Polish beers before. And it was Sunday night, like the end of Polish Fest. So all these people kept walking up like, hey, I'm in the band. You guys look like you're having fun. Here's my free tappers. Here's my free bottles of beer. Here's a bunch of coupons. So we got down there like 6 o'clock, and by the time we walked in, we're feeling pretty good. Like, yes, we're ready. It was a good time down there.
Ready.
Good time down there at Polish Fest. Didn't have to buy many beers. Get a lot of freebies handed to us, and it's an excellent time. I checked out the Raconteurs record. I checked out the Bokassa album, but we'll get to those in a few minutes. Karl, you went down to download. What are the highlights, and then what's some new music people can check out?
Yeah, so usually we get to check out probably around about 24 bands over the course of the weekend.
Wow.
So it's normally a higher volume, and we're rushing between stages. This year, people may have looked at the weather forecast and thought, "Oh my god!" So we got there Thursday afternoon and then left on the Monday morning. But you could turn up on Wednesday and start camping. And we had torrential rain for pretty much all of the week, and probably the week before, to be fair. And there were stories in the media going around that people had turned up and they'd like just tried to put the tent up, and they were just like, nah, just packed all the stuff up and went home, missed the whole weekend, just couldn't do it. The weather, it wasn't that bad, but when you're wearing wellies for 5 days or 4 days, whatever it is, and my feet were in bits, man, because you park your car and then you've got to carry all your tent and all your gear across to set up, and then you've got to walk back to the arena. And I had my, the old pedometer, the Strava stuff going on, and it was about 30,000 steps a day.
Whoa.
So when you work it out into miles, it was about 13 something miles a day in wellies every day, and that's hard work, man. Especially when you're carrying gear on your back for 2 of those. So tough physically. We took advantage of the weather, and we had 3 tents. Me and a couple of mates, we had 3 tents all annexed together, and then a gazebo that we bought over the top of them. So we had a little bit of dry space to hang out in there and have a few beers. So we took a foot off the gas and thought, we're not going to go straight in and see everybody. Be a bit selective. And we met 2 new friends as well. There was an Aussie couple who were camped next to us. And they were like, can we come and have a beer with you guys? They're like, yeah, come on, rock in. So they hung out with us from Thursday night till Monday when they went over to Budapest and Ibiza and stuff. So that was cool. It's always nice to meet new people and have a good laugh with them and stuff. So in terms of the bands, it was a bit of a mixed bag. They did classic rock a Sunday on Friday this year, and opening band, first band we went to see, Skid Row, and we're all so excited. Like we're at that age, we are the youth gone wild in our 40s, and it for us it was just so fucking cool just to be singing along with all these tunes. And the singer they've got, the old Dragon Force singer, whose name escapes me, one ZP somebody, I can't remember his name. ZP Theat, that's him. And he did a bang up job. He did a really good job. He's no Sebastian Bach, and I think had Skid Row with Bach would have been higher up the bill than they were, especially when you consider Stone Temple Pilots were on about midway through, at a much higher setup there. It's a similar thing, but yeah, they killed it. They played like half an hour, and because they've only got half an hour, it was literally just everything off the first two records. Like it was all gold. It was all just phenomenal stuff. Really was a highlight. They had a great crowd, and people from all ages as well. It wasn't just us in our 40s and people in their 50s. There was young kids there, like hearing Skid Row and loving it. So that was good fun. The bars didn't open until like 3 o'clock for some bizarre reason. So it was an absolute mayhem getting a beer. So the whole of Blackberry Smoke set, we listened to while queuing for a pint, effectively waiting for the bar to open and getting a beer. And they're not really. I like some of the stuff, the Whippoorwill, and I think the album we talked about a couple of years back was pretty good. But they don't often look the part, and they do sound really, really good live. I completely get why people who are waiting to see Whitesnake and Def Leppard and Slash and Miles Kennedy and stuff, Blackberry Smoke had a great crowd. They really did sound so polished and so good. I totally get why. And again, like we were talking about Jason Isbell just, and again, Blackberry Smoke wouldn't be a 5 out of 5 band for me at any point really, but I appreciate what people are getting out of it, in that environment. So after we got a beer, we went across to one of the smaller tents and saw a band that I haven't seen, a band called Conjurer, who are a 3-piece death metal band from the UK. And these guys blew our socks off, man. They were just absolutely unreal. So heavy. They've got one album out called Maya, which I think was last year, maybe even back into 2017, and it's real good. It's real powerful. And when the guy, the lead vocalist, is there, and he just comes away from his microphone and he stands in the middle of the stage and he just shouts the vocal out, like just the growl carried across the tent, like he just sang without the mic, throaty and powerful, and everyone who's just giving it loads in the mosh pit just kind of stops and looks at him. He's like, veins are popping in his head, and he's just like, you think shit, he's going to put his voice out, but oh wow, so good, so interactive. They really smashed it. Great. First time seeing them, didn't really know too much about them, but boy were they good. And they're playing small venues as well, so that was a treat.
Nice.
There's a band called Deadland Ritual, which I think is probably news to everybody. This is the minute they were on the bill, I was like, oh, we'll have a little listen to these guys, because this is Geezer Butler coming from Black Sabbath with a bit of a super group, really. The only other dude I recognised was Matt Sorum from Velvet Revolver, played on a couple of Guns N' Roses albums. Great drummer, really great drummer. And they kind of did almost like a greatest hits, if you like. Like they did a few tunes that Geezer would have played, a few tunes Matt would have played, including Sliver, and they had Steve Stevens on guitar, who Billy Joel's guitar player.
Yeah, Billy Joel, man.
Was it, or Steve Stevens? I was thinking Billy Idol.
Billy Idol. That's right.
He's a hell of a guitar player, that kid.
Different
he
Billy.
Is something else, man. I've seen numerous clips, like he's done like little lessons and stuff on YouTube and whatnot, and clips of him, man. He is a monster, man. Totally underrated guitar player.
Yeah, he graced the pages of Guitar World and Guitar Magazine a lot in the 90s. Great player.
Yeah, he was great. So those three, you looked at them like, this looks like a super group. And then there's a dude called Frankie Perez singing for him, who I don't know. I'm not quite sure what he'd done before. I don't think they're huge bands he's been in, but he was immediately not like, just, if someone just rubs you up the wrong way and you're like, can't really take to him. And it's almost like, kind of like milking the other three's, status and ability. So they played, I think they've only got 2 of their own songs, and they played those, and then the rest were covers. But, it's good, if you're covering Sabbath and shit, it ain't bad, is it? Let's be honest. So a bit of Guns N' Roses, a bit of Sabbath and stuff, and, a good time. But you're looking at them thinking, Geezer Butler stood there like thinking, what am I doing, man? Is this the way you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. It's like a church festival band playing covers like that. Kind of a mismatch for download a little bit.
It almost gave you that vibe. Like, these guys are better than that, really. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting. Then we rocked over to see the Interrupters. They were playing, obviously, a favourite of our Banner Gamers last year. They were playing in one of the big tents, and everyone in there was just up for a party, man. They were so good, so much fun live. There was no, like normally with a lot of punk stuff, there's always a bit of a pit and there's always a bit of action going down at the front. Not really with these guys. Everyone was just jumping up and down, pogoing, having a good time, arms around each other, just kind of boogieing, almost like in a 50s bizarre like fashion, but a lot of fun. They really were good live. Caught a couple of minutes of Opeth, just grabbed them just towards the end. They're always entertaining, but probably a little bit flat live. They're more of an album band. And as Def Leppard took to the stage, we were as far away as we could be, watching Rob Zombie, and it's the first time I've saw Rob do a live stage show, and it was a lot of fun. Really was a lot of fun. Like, just crazy outfits and makeup and pyro, really entertaining stuff. And after seeing that, we managed to get across and see the other headline band. So we actually watched 3 headline acts that on that Friday night, because we managed to go across and see At the Gates in the smaller tent, and they're like a Swedish metalcore band. They were super, super heavy. And obviously, we've been drinking all day, and I'm in there with the boys. Like, we're carrying all these beers. Like, we had 2 beers each, over 15 people from the front, like in the middle. And I'm just that, right, lads, we need to drink this as quickly as possible, And if this pit gets a bit mad, look, we'll meet at such and such. And as soon as they came on and played the first tune, limbs everywhere, beers everywhere, and it was just mayhem. So they were ace. They were really good. I think they were formed in like the early 90s. I'd never heard of them at all. And our mate Tom was really into them. He's like, oh, you'll like these guys. And yeah, they killed it. Really, really killed it. So that was Friday. And then Saturday, there was an early start, super early start, with Alien Weaponry playing on the main stage at 11 o'clock. And this is the one band I was desperate to see, this and Slipknot all weekend. And these 3 boys, they're only young lads, like late teens, from New Zealand. Incredible live, just unbelievable. And you could kind of all walk down there, and they were the earliest band on live pretty much the weekend. And you're there going, I really hope people turn out for them. And they really did. They had a really good crowd. A lot of people had obviously heard the buzz about them. And the way that they worked the stage, like such confidence from such young kids. And the reason why they sound so massive, that I soon discovered, is all 3 of them sing. So a 3-piece, all 3 really good vocals. The drummer is the one shouting all the kind of the tribal stuff from the back, the Maori stuff, and the other 2 singing over the top. They are phenomenal live. I was really surprised. I thought they'd be good, but I didn't think they'd be that good, that impressive at that age. So I'm hoping, looking at big things from them. Their album, their debut album, just missed my top 10 last year. And after watching that live, I was thinking to myself, what did I do? How was that not in the top 10?
They got a new single out. Is there a record around the corner? I assume there is. If you get to hear any of that new album, new stuff?
I think so. They played the single. They played the new single, but that was the only thing that they played off the new record. But they did say that there was something new coming. But again, it was 11 o'clock in the morning. They only had half an hour, so they've got to play a few off the old record as well. So, and pretty much then we went back to the tent and just drank beer for about 4 hours and rocked back up. Rocked back up in the afternoon to watch Skindred. And every year I've been to download, they've played and I've missed them, and I watched them from a safe distance. But they're like a metal reggae band from Wales, in Newport in Wales. They've got a very distinct flavour to them. They're great.
A Welsh metal reggae band.
Rock, metal, reggae. Yeah. Funny guys. They really rock. They're a lot of fun. And it makes me laugh with when you look at these festival lineups, because these guys were in front of Trivium. They've been around a bit, they've had a couple of decent albums, a couple of shitty ones, but the crowd for Skindred was just ginormous. It was huge, and everyone was going mad. And then Trivium came on, and literally the whole crowd had just fucked off. Like,
really?
Yikes.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. It was a very small crowd for what Trivium would have been hoping, and they were okay. It's like metal by the numbers, and it's just like they're not very interactive. They're not very they ain't got much personality, I guess. Trivium compared to Skindred, anyway.
Every time I hear, I'm not a big fan of Trivium. I've given them a shot a few times, but there have been a few people who have like, check this record out, and there's a couple examples of some really good music in their catalog, but overall, hits and misses, right? Skindred's been around since the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
They've been around a while.
They haven't really got a killer album. They've, like you said, they've got a couple of good tunes on it on particular records, so that when they do a festival set, they've got enough tunes to do it. But yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think, there's no standout record from them as far as I'm concerned. So after we'd seen them, went across to watch Stone Temple Pilots. By this time, I was quite inebriated and super excited, man. I didn't realize how excited I was until I started singing every lyric of every song.
Oh
yeah. And I was just wailing away, absolutely just in my element. And it's just so much fun. They killed it. Their singer does such a great impression. And it really does. As soon as the tunes take you, and by God, they've got some tunes they absolutely smashed it. They had such a huge crowd turn up to watch them. And yeah, it was just sing along. But it did make me think then, like, you had Skid Row on so early with a new singer, and then you got STP kind of on almost like one before Slipknot, effectively on the other stage. So it does make you think a little bit of when they get that.
We talked last episode about SDP. We put a poll out on Twitter asking for the best SDP record between Core, Purple, Tiny Music, and 4. I think Tiny Music won.
It did?
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent record.
Yep.
You can't fault them.
Great album.
I think they're all great.
Didn't they get the singer from like American Idol or something? Like one of the guys heard the dude on American Idol covering a STP tune and was like, "Hey,
there we go.
Come sing for us." So,
and that is literally what he does. It just does an impression, and it works. It really does work.
Especially when you're 15 beers in, then it really, really works.
Oh yeah. So after them, pretty much got a bit of grub and just went down to the front of the pit, the front of the main stage, to try and get in there for Slipknot. They blew me away as well. Did not disappoint. So good live, and we didn't stop just moshing for the whole of their set. Didn't stop bouncing and pushing and shoving and running around like idiots. It was just incredible. They were so good. And Corey Taylor was doing this thing of just like, it means so much for us to be here. Thank you, Download. We've always got a special place in our hearts for England, and and all and it's just like that kind of rehearsed, a little bit, on the back of the microphone, we love you, Castle Darlington. Almost one of those, but it didn't take away from their set. They were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Definitely want to see them again. And Sunday we took it easy, even easier, pretty much. Rocked up at like 3 PM again for Amon Amarth, who I'd never seen. Heard a little bit of their album Berserker from this year. And again, these are, I think they're Norwegian or something around there. They all look like Vikings. They're all just massive, bearded, big dudes with drinking horns strapped to them. And it was really, really good fun. This is one of the sets I enjoyed the most of the whole weekend, because they had like a little stage show going on as well. They had like this Viking helmet with horns on coming up out of the stage. and they had a couple of dudes like dressed in the full garb with a sword and a shield, and they'd fight each other on the front of the stage while they were singing, and then later on in the set there was like a big dragon that come up out of the water on the stage and was just doing all this stuff, and it was proper little show. They were really, really good. I really enjoyed. Very heavy, very growly. But Lamb of God were on after them, and I think it was kind of like a nice setup for them going in there. However, I didn't watch Lamb of God. Instead, went across to the second stage and watched Anthrax.
Yeah,
who absolutely killed it. They were brilliant. You couldn't move. It was so packed. You could not get anywhere near the front of the second stage for them. It was right the way up back to the merch booths and the food places, and it was just rammed full of people enjoying them. And again, yeah, just killer. First time I've ever seen them as well, so it was special for me. And then we went back to the main stage, raced over to. We're all big Smashing Pumpkins fans, so we got to race over there and catch them. They were after Lamb of God and Amon Amarth, Smashing Pumpkins coming on before. I think they were before Tool on that stage. And they were a huge disappointment, sadly. I don't know whether it was the wrong fit, the wrong kind of festival for them or not, but it was a pretty poor crowd first off. And Billy Corgan's a bit of a weird dude anyway, isn't he? He come on stage looking like Varys from Game of Thrones, bald head, big long gown on, and he's got this little jewel in his head, and didn't talk to the crowd, didn't really interact, and played. Like, they've got so much stuff that they can just play hit, and they've got some heavier tunes that they could have just pulled out and smashed it, but they played a couple of album tracks that you wouldn't have expected them to play. They did I think it was a Sabbath cover, but badly. And then he was kind of like, I don't know whether he could tell that the crowd weren't really with him, but he was kind of walking along the stage and he barely spoken a word. And he just kind of held up the horns and he was like, just tapping his chest going, yeah, I know, I feel you. Yeah, I feel you. But it was so half-hearted and so, I don't know.
Corgan.
Yeah, exactly.
And this crowd's just been buzzing off two fucking rip-roaring sets. And it was just really lackluster, really boring. And the guitar player, whose name escapes me now,
James Iha, he's gone, right?
Iha, yeah.
Is he back?
And he kind of said, I don't know whether it was meant to be tongue in cheek, but again, it didn't go over down well with the crowd particularly. But he was kind of like, said, "Hello, download. Are you having a reasonable time?" And everyone's like, "Reasonable time? What?" Fuck off.
Bad way to phrase that question.
Yeah, so it was all a bit. Yeah, my mate Sam was just in bits with him. He was ranting and raving. It's always a weird thing for me. Like, if you know that you look at the set that you're playing in. Like, if you're a musician, you'd be like, right, okay, I need to. This crowd is there for these artists, and you want to try and ease yourself in, like make your set, appeal to people. A few years back when Jay-Z rocked up at Glastonbury and before he turned up, like Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher was saying, like, you shouldn't be playing Glastonbury. It's a music festival, it's a guitar band festival, and all this sort of stuff. And he rocks up in a parka with, coming onto like AC/DC, and he put like Zeppelin riffs into his tunes and all this stuff, like to make it to integrate himself a little bit better. And it worked. It was a bit tongue in cheek and it was a bit funny, but like he nailed it. And then you get something like Billy Corgan just turning up, barely even being asked to interact in any way, and it was just very, very dull. And then when the good tunes do come on, it kind of doesn't lift it enough, and it just leaves you feeling a bit crap, really. So we left after about 45 minutes of that set, and just went out had a bit of beer and got ready for Slayer. So Slayer's last ever show in the UK. They're currently just doing their last shows around the world. They were just incredible. They've always been incredible. It's weird seeing a band, and I know they've been around for so long, but when they are still so good live, like they're as good now as they are, probably arguably better than they have been like in the past. And watching them play, they were just so good, and everyone was really emotional, and it was all super, super cool. There's little tiny kids like on their dad's shoulders, like 9 years old, with these massive headphones on, and like, just rocking out to Slayer. And after the set, like Tom Araya came out and he was just like strolling on the stage, didn't speak, He's never been much of a talker anyway. But he just stood there on the edge of the stage and just looked out, just nodded a couple of times, and then walked off, like just the ultimate kind of emotional acknowledgement that it was all over. So after watching that, me and the boys were like, I can't be asked to watch Tool. Like that was the way that, like after watching Slayer do that, it was just like, that let's just go back and have a beer now. Let's end it there. So yeah, so Miss Tool set. Well, they overlapped, so we would have only watched about 25 minutes of Tool, but by all accounts, Tool were very good.
One of my favorite bands, especially live, Tool. And Slayer's only 50% of their original lineup, man. I mean, Lombardo's gone and Jeff passed away, so. But they still sound great. Just saw some clips online. Legends. Their last Milwaukee show is in Chicago. Talk about a slap in the fucking face.
Wow.
Disappointing. Milwaukee was like the metal capital of the world for a while, or at least the U.S. No offense, Karl. Of the U.S. We used to have like Metal Fest here for like in the 90s. It was this giant weekend of metal, and Slayer came here all the time. And they're playing Riot Fest in Chicago, and it's like it's being dubbed the last Milwaukee Slayer show. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, just rub it in.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Shit, but I think they're just doing a couple like festival gigs, and they're not really doing a whole tour.
Yeah, they're picking it. They've done their world tour. They're just dropping festival gigs in now, just as a final little goodbye and that. So yeah, and that was pretty much Download. Highlight for me was Alien Weaponry. They are just freaking awesome. Got to keep an eye on them and see them if you can.
Yeah, those kids are really good. Racketeers, talk a little bit about that, and then try and recommend an album for next show. I think we've all listened to it once or twice. Just came out on Friday. It's pretty fresh, so day 3 of us recording here. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody want to get started? It's pretty meh to me. And they did like a vault thing for Third Man and released the record in a special package at a special price. And if you peel off the album cover or something, scratch it off, or I don't know how, I don't own it. I don't know, but it's got like the Butcher album, like Beatles with their heads like superimposed on the Beatles, which is disappointing and almost borderline like, what the fuck? Very strange.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit sacrilegious as well. It's just such a iconic cover that, the Beatles put together for that. And yeah, I didn't like that at all when I learned and saw that. I'm like, no, you can't, don't be doing that.
I think it's a good summary of the record. Again, Jack White is trying to be something he's not, in my opinion. And I don't know a lot about the Racketeers. I don't know about the other guys in the band. It's very Jack White heavy,
yes.
this record. So you can tell he's leading the charge. And there are tunes that sound like they're trying to be like the Beatles kind of on this record. And it just, when you tie in that record cover that you scratch away, and it seems fleeting a little bit. I don't know if I'll listen to it again. I'm full disclosure, I'm not a big Racketeers fan, but I do like their early records. It's not something I put on at home, but when I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But I listened to this once, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to listen to it again. I'm not impressed.
I think it's definitely going to be a grower for me. There's a couple of tunes on there I do dig, but again, I've only listened to it, I think, twice. So it'll be an album that I will put on. I'll listen to a good few times, but you do get that vibe. It is Jack heavy, but then I suppose he's going to be the driving force of it now. Pretty much licensed to do what he wants to do. So yeah, definitely going to be spinning it a bit more, and maybe some more thoughts next time.
One of the better Jack records in a while, though.
That's true.
There are some great riffs on it, and he's a little tricky on a couple of the tunes. There was one where there's like that weird kind of backing vocal that follows his line that doesn't when you first hear it doesn't sound like it fits. But as the tune goes on, it's like, holy crap, that is brilliant. That actually, so there's little bits of, Jack White's brilliance all over it, but there's parts where it's too much. He's overcomplicated it. He doesn't allow room for the other instruments or vocals to breathe. There's rarely that separation in between the instruments and whatnot to just give it a little bit more breathing room. It seems really busy. There's so much kind of going on. He's really and yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but he's all over this, and I wish he wasn't nearly as much kind of back away, because I remember it's like Consolers of the Lonely is a banger of a record. That's, to me, by far the best Raconteurs record. If you're gonna get one, grab that, because it's incredible start to finish. But there's so much. Everybody's got room on it. Everybody's got room to breathe. Everybody, all the tunes they're just the tunes, and they're great. Where he's playing with too many knobs on this record, and I don't mean the other band members. He's got his hand in too much at the moment. It feels like, but there's some great tunes on it already. I've probably 2, maybe 3 listens, maybe 2.5, and there's definitely some sounds in there. I think it could be a bit more of a grower, but I don't think it's going to be the best Raconteurs record, and I don't think it'll stack up to their best. But it's solid, and they're back, and they're great band either way. I mean, we could shit on this album, but it's still better than a lot of records out there. But it's just, I'm with Joel on that. It's kind of too much Jackie Boy right off the bat.
Doesn't it seem like he's living on his old cachet a little bit? I struggle with this a little bit, because when he first did his first solo record, I love his first solo record. I think it's really good. And you kind of hear him come out of the Jack cachet a little bit and try something different. But now as he gets further in his career, it just feels like he's so in tune with what made him successful. He keeps trying to reach back at it, or so it feels.
I get the feeling that he keeps trying to reinvent the wheel. Where I think where he needs to just go back and just kind of, do what worked, so well. A little bit more White Stripes influence, Maybe he needs to sit down with Meg and hash out a new White Stripes tune and just kind of bring it back to that simplicity, and just have this blues roots just shine, a little bit more. But yeah, weird dude, man.
What's the recommended album for next episode? Any suggestions? I feel like I've been hogging it a while, so I'm hands off.
I'm quite happy to know my colours to Bokassa and Crimson Riders.
Yes.
I'm in. I've listened to it a few times. I think that's a good idea.
I've spun it a lot.
It's one that I've wanted to. I was hoping you're recommending, because it's one I do want to listen to.
Yeah, it's only 9 tracks. It's not particularly long, so they've kind of done a bit what they did, I think, with the first record. What's it called? Divide and Conquer. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm happy enough to pay my colours to this and recommend it for next episode.
Let's do it.
Done.
There you go. Anything else you guys want to add to the Spotify playlist for this episode? So far, I just got that Isabel record. Any download, discovery bands that you want to put your neck out on and have me throw it in our playlist that no one will listen to? Karl?
Mm-hmm. I'd definitely put Alien Weaponry on there, and put Amon Amarth on there, Berserker. That's pretty good fun.
I love the Kevin Smith reference in that one.
Yeah, they are nerds.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. We appreciate it. Cheers. Till next 2 weeks.
Enjoy your games, eh?
That's right.
Magic people, voodoo people.
Told that story last night to my friend, who's like, "How's Vancouver?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." somehow we got chatting on like accents and shit, and she's like, they all talk like this one way. And I'm like, in Vancouver, they kind of don't. It's very like U.S. sort of dialect up there. Like we had like the one moment where we had to enjoy your games, eh? I was like, yes, like, finally. Been waiting all week for this shit. Right. Come on.
That was awesome.
That was good, man. Good show.